Stop wasting hours writing messy code for your Excel projects. Today, I'm going to share with you my secret map method that allows you to add, save, load, and delete data in any form in just 7 lines of code. It's clean, it's fast, and it's easy to maintain. We're going to be writing all of it from scratch. It's going to be a great training. So let's get started. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to bring you this training. I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily create your own worksheet data form with just 7 lines of code. And of course, that is going to be including the add new feature, where you're going to be able to add new records and also save or update and delete records. All of that in just 7 lines of code. I'll be taking you step by step through every process and every line. I'll be showing you how you can do that. And that's regardless of how many fields you have, and even if you've never programmed VBA before. So it's going to be great training. Let's get started. Please make sure you are subscribed. I do create these trainings each and every week. In fact, VBA basic and comprehensive application development every single week. This template and all the code that we're writing on is also available to you using the links down below. If you're on my website, just look for the download word. And if you're on YouTube, make sure that you check the links in the description. All right, so this is a sample. I'm going to be closing this. Now, I do have fields already and the buttons already, because that's going to make things a lot easier, but there's no code attached to this and there's no data at all. I've got a data entry form here and I've got customers. First thing what we need to do is we need some data. So let's grab the data. I'm going to highlight and select that. I'm going to use my AI tool pack. If you don't have this, it is a great, quick, easy. I'm going to get fake data from that. Now, because I've selected the headers, I'm going to use my AI tool pack and I'm just going to click load from selection. It's going to load up all the fields that I want data in. And I want the first cell in row A3. That's including the headers. And I'm going to return about 10 rows. And I'm going to click generate data. In just a few seconds, all that data is going to be inside the worksheet. So it's that easy. That is one of 10 features in my AI tool pack. All right, so now that we have data here, what I want to do is I want to create a table. So I'm going to use Control T to create a table, and we're going to start it out in row 3. So I'm going to go row 3, and I'll be explaining these cell references in the first row in just a moment. So I'm going to click row 3 and click OK. And now we have a table. We don't need the filters, and I'm going to give this a name called customers. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is I've mapped these fields. This is going to make it a lot easier. If we see that this says E5, this says H5, and this says E7. Now, if we take a look inside our data entry form, we take a look at the customer name, that's E5. Take a look at the type, that's cell H5. We see the address is E7. So what I've done is I've mapped all 8 of these fields here in the first row. So when I run a loop, and I want to save data from the form into that, all I need to do is run a loop in row 1, and then whatever's inside E5, I need to add that, or whatever's in H5, and we're going to add it to the second column here, and so on and so forth, all the way when we get to column 8. This is going to help us a lot because we can use any number of fields or columns, and we just need a little bit of code to do that. So now that we have our customer list available, what I want to do is I want to create a data validation here for the customer select. And to do that, we're going to go into the formulas tab and name manager, and we're going to create a named range. Notice we have the table that we just created here. So I'm going to click on new. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this customer and then underscore name. And we're going to use our table that we just created. So equals, and it's called customers. And then what is the name of the field? It's called name. That is the name of the header. And we're going to click OK. Once we do that, we do have our names here. So we see that. And if we tab over into that, here we can see that the customer names are highlighted and we have the dancing ants around the name. So we're good to go with that. We see that that named range is accurate. We're then going to take that cell in cell E3 and we're going to add a drop-down list data validation to that. So inside the data validation, we are then going to create a list. And we're going to use that named range that we just created, equals customer and then name. And then we're going to hit enter. So we got the customer name right here. So this is a drop-down list. So if we start typing in our name, it will come up. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, so we're good to go there. So we have that. Now what we want to do is we want to add some VBA code that's going to do this. I'm going to add 4 different macros. The first of which is when I make a selection here of a customer, I want that customer name to load. But to do that, I want to know what row Jane Doe is on. If I take a look here, I see Jane Doe is on row 5. But I want a little help from the formula to let me know what row that is on. So to do that, we're going to move over into some hidden columns. These columns will be hidden, and we only need one single formula for this. To do that, I'm just going to put a little label called customer row. So that's just the label here. What is that customer row? Well, I'm going to use equals. If error, if it's not found, I don't want to create an error. So what I want to use is the if error command. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in a match statement, and I'm going to look up this name. And what am I looking it up? I'm looking it up into the named range that we just created called customer name. Now I want an exact match. So I'm going to use 0. But now I want the row number. Our first row starts on row 3. So I'm going to put in 3. If there's an error, I just want to show empty. And that's going to tell me that Jane Doe is on row 5. If I look in the customers, I see Jane Doe is on row 5. Perfect. If I clear this out, creating an error, it will show blank. And that's exactly what I want. So we know B3 is going to contain the row. That is the only formula that we are going to need for this. Now we're ready to go into VBA and start writing the very little code for all 4 of those macros. One macro to load the data when we make a change to cell. Another macro to clear all the fields for the add new. Another macro for save and update the customer, save a new record or update an existing record based on the data here, and a delete customer. So all 4 of those macros we're going to write in just 7 lines of code total. So to do that, we are going to go into the developer. Now, if you don't have the developer available here, all you need to do is right click any tab here and just click customize the ribbon. Once you've done that, you just want to make sure that the developer is selected. Once it is selected, you will have access to the Visual Basic Editor. You can also click Alt F11 to access it. Once you open it up, you're going to get something that looks like this. Also, I just wanted to take a quick moment to share with you one of the best applications that I've ever developed for coders called the Ultimate Developers VBA library. You can quickly and easily search for any macro of up to over 500 macros. You can also quickly and easily copy and paste any macro into your code in just a few seconds. If that wasn't fast enough, I've also integrated a very simple auto hotkey where you can use any shortcut keys to quickly automate your coding. You can also create your own macros, as many as you like. And that's the Ultimate Developers VBA library, and I'm going to include the links down below. Thanks so much. Now, what we want to do is we want to write our code. So what I'm going to do is insert. And we're going to insert a module. Now, once we have that module, we see that we're in module 1, and we're going to start writing our code. I do need some variables for this, but just 2 of them. So we're going to mention the customer row as long, and also the customer column as long. Why do we need the customer column? Because I need to loop through those columns from 1 to 8 to either save the data or load the data. And now what we're going to do is we're going to write sub customer add new. That's going to be one macro. I need another sub customer load. That's going to be our second macro. Our third macro is sub customer save or update. It's the same macro whether we're saving a new record or updating an existing one. And our last macro, sub customer delete. So these are considered macros. So now we're going to write our lines of code directly in here. And we have one more that we'll write in just a bit, which is our event for the change. So for adding new customers, all we really need to do is just clear these individual fields. So I want to clear all the fields, whether it's E3, E5. So we're clearing all the fields. So let's go ahead and write that up. We are in our data form sheet. So that's the sheet name, data form. And I want to clear every single field. And so that's going to include E3, E5. We're going to do E7, E9, and E11. Also in column H, we also have fields. So we want to make sure that column H, 5 all the way through 11. So we're going to be adding those cells to our range. So it's going to be H5, H7, H9, and H11. And then what we're going to do is simply going to clear the contents. So that's it. That's the only line of code that we have for add new. So that's one line of code here. We are excluding these because these two are not required. It would still work without those. And these are part of the framework, but not the logic. So we're only counting the logic. Now the customer load. So we're going to add that in. First of all, when I make a change here, I want, of course, the row to be reflected. Now, but we can only load a customer if we have a row here. So the first thing we want to check to make sure that B3 contains a value. So we're going to write if data form.range, and that range is going to be B3. If B3.value does not equal empty, then we can continue. Then what do I want to do? I want to assign the customer row is going to be simply equal to whatever's located in this. So we can just copy that and paste it here. What about else? Else, there's nothing we can do. We can exit the sub. So that means we can load the customer as long as there's a value in B3. Otherwise, we can't do anything. So that's the second line of code. Next up, what we want to do is I want to write a loop from 1 to 8. So the idea is now that I have the row, I've put that in a variable, I'm going to run a loop from 1 all the way to column 8. And I'm going to grab this cell, and I know the row. So whatever's in, let's say in column 1, I'm going to place this in E5. Whatever's here inside, I'm going to place it in H5. So we're simply going to do that 1 through 8. So we can write a loop to do just that. So I'm going to write in here for the customer column equals 1 to 8. And we're going to continue that with a colon. What do I want to do? So now I want to load in the data. Data form dot range. Now what's the range? Where's that range located? That range is located in row 1 of our customer list. So customer list dot cells is located in row 1 and whatever column, customer column dot value. So this is the range right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and what's going to load in. So the value dot value. That means that this range is going to take on a value. Where it's going to take on equals, it's coming directly from the customer list dot cells and then customer row and then our customer column dot values. So basically, here's where we're going to run a loop. Then we're going to take the values from our database and we're going to populate our data form with that. And then all we need to do is just simply continue the loop. So we can use a colon for that. And then we're just simply write next customer column. Just like that. Great. So that's it. So this is our third line of code right here. Next up, what we're going to do is we also need to save and update. Now, when we save and update, it may be a new record or it may be an existing record. How will we know the difference? If B3 is empty, it is a new record. If it is not empty, it is an existing record. So we need to differentiate between those two. And so to do that, we're going to write an if-then statement. So here, if the data form.range B3 dot value equals empty, then we need to assign the customer row. Then the customer row is what? The first available row. It's a new customer. I want to assign the first available row equals customer list. Here's our sheet. Then what I want to do is I want to go to list objects and I'm going to look inside that table we just had, customers. And I want to count the rows. So we're going to do list rows dot count. So all of the rows. And we're simply going to add 1. So that is it. So what else? Otherwise, we are simply going to assign the customer row to whatever's in B3. Else, customer row equals, so simply this right here. So our customer row is right here. So we can just paste that there. And so basically we've assigned the customer row for new customers or for existing customers. That is our fourth line of code. Now for our fifth line of code, we're going to simply run a loop and it's going to be just like this loop. So I'm going to copy this. But the only difference when we're saving and updating is these are reversed. And that means here, we are then taking the values in our range and we are bringing them into the data. So here I'm going to reverse this and I'll explain it. So now we're going to take whatever's inside our form and we're placing it into the database here. Everything else is the same. And of course, we can also add a colon and the message box customer saved. Very good. So that's it for save. Very, very simple on that. That is our fifth line of code. Now our sixth line of code is for deleting. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that we have a row to delete. That row is going to be inside B3. So I'm simply going to copy this here and we're going to run a check. If B3 value does not equal empty, then I want to basically delete it. Customer row. So we're simply going to just paste it right here. And we're going to change this to an equal. So basically we're going to take whatever row is in here and we're going to add it here. So once we've done that, then I simply need to delete it. So we're going to add a colon here, customer list dot range. I'm going to delete the row from our customer list, customer row and the colon and the customer row dot entire row dot delete. All right, so now we've pretty much written it. So here we have 3, 4, 5, and then 6 lines of code to do our load save. Now the only difference is when we make a change to E3, we want to run the macro, but I want to make sure when we run E3, I want to make sure that B3 contains a value. So to do that, that is a change event. That change event is going to happen in our data form sheet. So we're going to go here. I'm going to go into the worksheet and I want to focus on a change event when I make an actual change to a cell. So not the selection change, we can get rid of that. So if not intersect and target and then comma range. Now what is that range that we're going to focus on? We're focusing on E3. And then we want to make sure that is nothing. Let's do is nothing. That means they've made a change. And what else? I want to make sure range B3 dot value does not equal empty. Then what are we going to do? We're going to customer load. We're going to run our macro customer load. So that's it. This is our 7th line of code right here. So on any change, we're going to load it. So now let's take a look. So what I'm going to do is we're going to assign the macros to the button. I'm going to right click here and we're going to simply assign the macro. So assign the macro. This is going to be for our customer add new. I'm going to click OK. Next up, we're going to do this save and update customer. This one is going to be for our save or update macro. And we're simply going to assign the macro and we're going to just add it right here. Lastly is our delete customer. So once again, we have our 3 macros that are associated with the buttons, and our 4th macro is associated for the change event on E3. So we're going to test our code out. Saving our work before running our code, we are going to just simply double click that and then just going to hit enter. And we see that it automatically loaded up perfectly. Okay, we're going to click add a customer. It's going to clear all those fields. I'm going to put in a customer name and we're just going to put in any type. Let's just put residential. And then I'm just going to save the customer. Now, the only other thing that we might want to do is we might want to add Fred to this list automatically. So we can do that as well. So let me go ahead and add a colon onto that. And we could just add, so E3 is going to take on whatever's in E5. So that's relatively easy. And that's going to happen on the save event. So we go into the save event. We can just go here. We can add it right here. So we can do data form. But I really only want to add it if it's a new customer. So meaning then the customer row at this point, we know it's a new customer because there's no value in here. So to do that, all we need to do is just add a colon here. And we're going to take whatever is in E5 and put it into E3. So data form.range and then E3 is going to equal dot value equals whatever's in E5. So then all we need to do is just copy this here and we're going to paste it here. And then I'm just going to change this to E5. Then we're going to add a colon onto that. There, great. So we're good to go on that. We're going to save our work. Now let's go ahead and see if we've added a brand new one. We're going to add a new one and we're just going to call it Debbie. And then we're going to save the customer and Debbie's now been populated here and we can choose it from the list. And I really like that. All right, that's really cool. So we've done that in just 7 lines of code, created a full sheet form with 4 different features: CRUD, create, read, update, delete. So we have everything in just a little bit of code. Of course, you can add a lot of code to this to create more features, but I'm happy to bring this to you. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to grab the AI tool pack. I'm adding even more. If you have it already, you'll see that this looks different. I've got an update coming with even more features, but now's the best time to grab it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.